Welcome to the Predictable Revenue Podcast, where sales leaders teach you what's working for them so you can build it yourself. Feeling ready to kick your sales into high gear? We're here to help. Check out our sales coaching and consulting services at predictablerevenue.com. Welcome back to the Predictable Revenue Podcast. I'm your host, Colin Stewart. Today, I'm joined by Edgar Alvarado. He's one of our SDRs, and we're going to talk about life of PR. Edgar, welcome to the show.
Hey, Colin. It's a pleasure to be here and excited. What else can I say?
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on the show. It's fun to kind of have a chance to chat one-on-one in this format. I want to get into what the experience has been like here and some of the things that you've learned. I think this would be a good episode for either SDRs that are kind of in the role that are maybe going through some struggles or looking for some tips. I think this would be an interesting one for maybe anybody who's been there or is thinking about going into a sales role. I want to start kind of before predictable revenue. What were you doing before?
Well, I think that was a struggle. I was trying to find what I was gonna do at that point of my life. I come from an artistic background, let's call it that way. I was doing design and photography, but I was not quite sure that I was like stepping into like a solid ground there, especially in Mexico, at least. I wanted to make a living and have a family and make projects out of it. And it's really difficult. So I was kind of wondering where I was like going to in terms of what I was going to do that was profitable, but as well something that I really enjoyed and that I was good at. So I was kind of figuring out since the pandemic. So I was kind of lost before PR, like trying to figure out where I was headed to.
Fair enough. And predictable revenue, was predictable revenue your first sales role, or did you have, I think you had a little bit of experience ahead of time.
Yeah, I had a little bit of experience, but I had those experiences or that experience while I was trying to figure out whether it was something that I wanted to keep on doing or something that I really enjoyed, or at least that I was good at, because I did it, but I was still not like feeling like I owned that until predictable revenue.
I think you and I have something in common in that we both talked a whole bunch when we were kids. It sounds like you were a little bit funnier. You could do impressions. Tell me about that and how it kind of got you into sales.
Yeah, and that's something that always kept me worried since I was like kid, from teenager, early adult, that I always the type of guy that never like shut up at school, and that always was like, kind of the clowns, the class clown at some point. And I always like wanted to shock people and to talk with anyone, and so I always thought like, oh, I don't know what I'm gonna do with that when I grow up, because that's not what you rely on when you are a grown up with having a job or a professional career or something. So yeah, I was like that when I was a kid and teenager, and maybe I still am. So yeah,
I think I still act like a teenager, telling jokes and screwing around sometimes. It's hard to remember that I'm the boss and still be that guy at the same time.
Yeah, it's hard to get those two to work together, but
I remember you mentioning something about it thickening your skin. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And that also relates with the fact that when I started doing cold calls, I mean, like everyone else, I was scared as hell when I started, and I hated it for the first weeks. Then like that clown teenage side came in and gave me like advice to not take it too seriously. I mean, the outcome, and you can enjoy this, and you can just like have this shock therapy and make yourself feel uncomfortable. Maybe people in the other side of the phone, but at the end, that helps you developing or turning those like things into actual and useful skills that get you out of difficult situations, or maybe boredom, or losing like the meaning on what you're doing. And yeah, like healthy focusing that gives you like that boost of confidence and enjoying things.
It's the kind of psychologically reframing the way you're thinking about cold calling from something that you're afraid of or not enjoying doing to like, hey, this is just me telling another joke. And like, it seems like it thickened your skin.
Uh-huh. That's correct.
I mean, I guess you could kind of relate cold calling and telling jokes that aren't funny, which is my specialty. They're fairly similar. You know, nobody wants to hear them. Everybody's upset that I'm speaking.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you need to be like proud of that. They can just assume that role and like, yeah, I know you might hate me, but here is what it is, and this is what I got. So yeah.
Pardon me. Have you tried the congratulations? You've just answered a cold call opener, just as like a sidebar.
Not that one yet. I use the one that says there's a call you can hang up right now or later. But I haven't got that one yet, but it's like in my wish list right now.
I always like trying things that I'm pretty sure aren't going to work because I think anytime I'm super confident in an email or a script,
Yeah.
it's going to be bad. So I'm always like, you know what? I'm going to try all the terrible ideas because that's where the gold probably is. Anything you're afraid of doing or thinking like, oh, this is almost definitely a bad idea. I mean, most of them are, but some of them are really good.
Yeah.
I'm curious, how did you find predictable revenue?
Well, to be honest, I was looking for a job in sales, not just any job. I was at this point of my life where I got tired of just doing things like without a meaning or without a real purpose or without like, feeling balanced and feeling like fulfilled what I did. So I just returned for a 3 month trip travel that I did, and I was trying to figure out what next. I mean, of course, I always uh, was good at talking to people and doing calls and sales and all that, but was it always gonna be that way? Like just calls and talking to people that hate me on the phone? I was trying to find like something beyond that, but that's not you don't have the answer right in front of you, and you can just point at, hey, I know where that is. So I was like on this search of where to find that.
And how did you come across PR for the first time?
Well, that's something funny. I was trying to prepare for the role because I was an SDR before, but I was preparing and maybe learning things that maybe on the years that I been an SDR didn't like quite achieved or learned or perfectioned. So yeah, I started listening to all kinds of SDR podcasts or sales or B2B or whatever that came in front of me. I learned from everything. But then while looking for those podcasts, I came across to Predictable Revenue. And I remember that you had a podcast with Yusui about digging deeper in what an SDR role involves. And I kept that one, and then I listened to another and another when I was going out for night walks. And I was like, I'm learning a lot from these guys. And while I was applying for a job, I remember that someone in the HR team told me like, this is for predictable revenue, and I was like, is the predictable revenue from the podcast? Maybe I don't know. I never noticed until I heard the your name popping up, and I was like, oh damn! Like I found the right guys. So that's how I found predictable revenue.
Right on. Pretty lucky timing.
Yeah.
Coming back from holidays, catching a couple episodes of the YouTube algorithm, kind of feeding that to you, and then, what better preparation to go through an interview with us than to have like listen to the podcast and to be able to reference that and quote some of those things. I know that was probably
Yeah.
about your application.
Yeah, totally.
You've been here, I don't know, 7 months now at the time we're recording this,
Hmm.
and you've been a pretty consistent top performer. What do you think has led to your success?
Well, one of the core values from the company, absolutely, and to live a balanced life, and I think it has a lot to do with that. I always struggle with having a balanced life, just in my personal life, with even before getting here. But now that I was started working with predictable revenue, and that I actually started to apply that that balance in my life, and living like wholesomely, and feeling fulfilled and important about what I need to do, like being intentional on what I do with my life, and here, that's where things started going like great for me, like in my life, and also with company. So I think it just reminded me of actually enjoying what I do, like for my life, for my job, for my managers, for my day-to-day boring tasks sometimes maybe. But that's a great formula for at least my success, to enjoy what I do, to be grateful, to have balanced life. So yeah.
Can you give me an example or two of some things that you do, during the course of your day to stay balanced?
Yeah, I put a lot of focus and importance on being healthy and doing some activities, because it's a job that requires sometimes for you to keep doing the same thing over and over until you get, raw material to work on for later.
Mm.
But I think it's really important to start a day with a win, hyped, happy, grateful about something, doing whatever that helps you to achieve that. In my case, is either could go for a small run and having that win for the day, or lifting something heavier than last week. So always starting with that win for the day, to being on this heightened mood of you feeling capable of things. And for me, it turns out that it runs out pretty quickly. Like by the half of the day, or at lunchtime, I start feeling like it's getting a little bit lower. So I do some resets during the day. Could be after lunch, before lunch, but always resetting my mind and getting back to that mode helps me a lot. Could be I go and practice a couple skate tricks, or another, I don't know, 10 minutes of jump romping, but something that keeps me uh
Mhm.
going with that feeling. So that's how I do. Or sometimes I go for a coffee, just for a little walk, and for a coffee or a nice breakfast. And yeah, I get all my life along and during the 9 to 5, and that helps me a lot.
I remember talking to a friend of mine, and he was I think he went for a bike ride in the middle of the day. This was a long time ago, my buddy James. And I was like, man, like, don't you, like, isn't that, like, struggle? Isn't that hard to do? And he goes, man, it's about energy management, not about time management.
Mhm.
And that just, it resonated so hard with me, because it's not about the time that you put into a particular task. It's about the outcome that you can create. And so
Yeah.
it's hard to give yourself permission to go and take a break in the middle of the day. I struggle with it too. I'm the boss, and I'm like, I'll take a break after lunch, and I'm like, I set a timer and this and that, because I don't want it to get out of control. But I've since we moved to working from home, I really struggled to like actually take any breaks throughout the day. So I kind of
Yeah.
have to tack it on after my lunch, or couple it with exercise. I'm pretty good about going out and exercising, but
Hmm.
to just like sit and do nothing, even though I know it's the right thing, it counterintuitively feels wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. So it makes you feel guilty about it. It's like, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I find reframing it as like energy management as opposed to time
energy
management.
management.
That's a big one for me.
I'm gonna take that
Um,
that energy management mode as well.
Totally. I know, kind of counter to, the last comment here, there was a time when you were pretty burnt out. I wonder if you'd be comfortable sharing with us
Yeah,
what happened.
absolutely.
Yeah, what you did get out of it, how you got there.
Well, I got there because I was still not too accustomed to put my confidence in my job and in my activities. I always put my confidence in the immediate outcome of things. So at some point, I was maybe too busy or too focused on numbers or immediate outcomes or the outcome that I wanted, but not the actual outcome. Uh, that I tend to forget and to lose confidence in my actions, my daily tasks and my daily efforts and trusting. I stopped trusting myself, my tools, my time, my everything. Like I lost confidence, and I was always thinking on the results. So that led me to be burned out because I felt frustrated week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and I was just a mess by the end of the month. And like like this movie, like Dune, that they say like the fear is the mind killer. So I started fearing a lot, like what's gonna happen with me? What's gonna happen with my leads? What if I implement now this another solution and it doesn't go well? So I felt like I started to take less smart decisions, like with my life and with the energy management. So I
Yeah.
was feeling tired, like mentally, but physically, and I was like overwhelmed, like by fear of what's gonna be the outcome of all this. And I felt like maybe I should jump before before anything else happened. So that's what the illusion or the field made me think at that point. So yeah, that's how it
I
went.
hear that, man. Yeah, it's hard not to like I feel it too. I spent most of my life in sales, and now as an entrepreneur, I'm still kind of in sales. I just have I have everybody's number that I'm responsible for, and there's a
Yeah,
profit and a revenue number. So it's in some ways it's almost exactly the same, in other ways it's a little bit different. But you can start to be. I know I've been had my intrinsic value. I felt like it was tied very tightly correlated to like the performance of the company. We have a good month, I feel good. We have a shitty month, I feel shitty. Yeah, like the highest highs of like I'm the king of the world to like, we miss sales 1 month and I'm like, oh man, I'm wasting everybody's time. I should just give up.
yeah,
I'm like, I haven't given up, but like it's very easy to feel like I think Annie Duke calls it an outcomes collector, where you get really
okay,
focused on. Annie Duke's an ex-pro poker player. I think she's also has her PhD in something. She did research on. I'm drawing a blank on it, but she's got a great book called How to Decide.
how to
The
decide?
How to Decide. Yeah, it's a really great book on decision making and how to go through like run a thorough decision making process. But the one thing that I picked up from her in sort of her decision making about poker was, her focus was on the process, not
Yeah,
on the outcomes. And I think if we can create, quote, the great songwriters, Fly to the Concords, sometimes when I freestyle, I lose confidence.
yeah,
And I think, the pressure to collect all these outcomes to be really good, it kind of forces us out of our like, I know how to do this job role and into like, okay, I'm just going to try anything and everything. And that's like
yeah,
the beginning of the slippery slope. And like I've experienced this as well, both as
yeah.
as a SDR, as an entrepreneur. Like I think this is not this is not only SDRs that struggle with it. I certainly have been there too.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's very true what you just said. Like I tried like everything. Like I came, I remember I felt guilty like telling everyone like, "Hey, this is the new strategy. We're gonna kill it with it. It's gonna be the best thing ever." Then it flopped like 2 days, and I was no, there's another strategy here, and we're gonna. And I kept like losing confidence in everything I did because everything was going like downhill.
Mhm. What changed? What was that moment for you?
I stepped back. I took a little rest, mentally, um, mentally talking, to take a step back and have the bigger picture and just not focusing on getting the numbers right or the quota right or everything right, but what's working, what's not. And overall, I needed to gain confidence again in my day to day or in my small tasks. So I stepped back a little bit to evaluate everything, to ask for help, because that's another point that I was missing, that I was trying to carry everything on my own, which made it very heavy. So I stepped back and I asked like for everyone's advice, like, hey, how can uh, we make this work? But also not just getting help on more activities. I need more leads, or I need more calls, or but also I needed confidence in myself. And I was not aware that I needed someone that helped me gain back that confidence, or to let me know how important the things that I was doing were. But luckily, the team got me something, gave me something that I was not sure or aware that I needed to gain my confidence back. So first, they helped me with that. They reminded me what would write in the past. So gave me like the insight. Okay, what was like the strong my strongest skill, or my strongest plan back at that time. So we reevaluated everything, and yeah, maybe we lost a week or two trying to figure things out. Again, but at the end of the day, we did it that way. We reevaluated. We took a time, and we lost. Like I had like this imaginary deadline in my head, like tick tock, going back. So we stopped thinking about it, and it's like let's not think about time. Let's not think about the days that are going by. Let's think about what is missing. That it's really important. That was my confidence, and also the structure that it was needed at that time, and the team support as well. So with all that back into my toolbox, like my confidence, my team support, my this like detachment of my feelings to the outcome, or my self-worth out of the outcome, made me feel comfortable again, and capable again. And that was reflected in how I lived my lives, even because that's what you mentioned. I felt like I was doing all wrong if I took a break, because what if this guy answers the email and I'm just losing time out there, like going out for a walk or working out? Like, I'm gonna mess this up. And I started
This imaginary prospect is like, oh, you didn't reply to me within 30 seconds?
Yeah,
You're done.
Because in my imagination, as soon as I walk out of my door, everyone will answer like positively, and I'm gonna ruin that. But everyone suddenly wanted to book with me as soon as I walked out of the door. So I
maybe there's a correlation. Maybe if that's true, maybe we need to leave our offices more often, right? Because if they only want to book meetings while we're out of the office, it's like, great, cool, let's go out of the office and just kind of trigger that unfortunate circumstance more time.
Yeah, I'm gonna try that like more often. Like work out of the door, but having my cell phone and check my emails to confirm all the meetings. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Or maybe just go out for a walk, because I'm sure if they're interested in booking a meeting, they'll still be interested in 45 minutes. As long as you don't leave them a couple of days. I find people are pretty reasonable, and if people aren't reasonable, we probably don't want to work with them anyway.
Yeah.
It's nice to, I remember, conversations back then, and like, it seemed like one of the things was focusing on the skills that you had. It was you were kind of overwhelmed by all the things that weren't working. And one of the things the team did to help was to kind of focus you on like, hey, you are good at this thing. And to give you that piece to hang on to. Like if you're a football player, you're going out and you're like, all right, I'm good at this type of, play. I'm good at this pass. I'm good at this position. And just not focusing on the score, not focusing on getting a goal, not focusing on defending, but just focusing on like, this is my piece of the turf. I'm going to focus on this one specific thing and just do that well. And every time I go out there, if I do this one thing really well, that's a win. And so it seems like it kind of built up all these, little daily wins of like every time you did the good thing, you got a little bit better.
Yeah. So sometimes the win is in the effort and the confidence that you have. And sometimes you can take confidence from there, and you can feel like a winner about how you did things instead of what you got back immediately. But that like helps you having like a healthy energy management. Let's call it that way. And to always have like that steady confidence, and not just crazy boosts that depended on if something went right, and then you're just craving for another one, and but yeah, sometimes just feeling or to be confident about what you did on that day, that what was in your hands, sometimes that's the win. Sometimes you will take the confidence from there that eventually will turn into another win that maybe will deserve that boost or that celebration. But you will always have like that steady powerhouse of confidence as long as you do things with confidence. And the trust process, of course.
Yeah. I remember the early days of trying to get PR off the ground. I always used to say to myself, like, you got to be good to be lucky, and you got to be lucky to be good. And like the hard work and like doing the right things every day just increases your surface area for luck.
Yeah.
So like you might make 100 calls today and getting zero, but one of those voicemails might come back to you and be a meeting tomorrow. Or one of those voicemails might be somebody that you also send an email to, and the voicemail has influence, right? And so as long as you're kind of keeping the throttle down, full throttle every day, even if you're not getting the outcomes, you're still putting the work in to kind of increase your surface area for luck.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I want to kind of pull back into the future now, or into the present. You've been a successful SDR here. You had some struggles. You came back from it. Talking about something that you've learned here in your time as an SDR that's contributed to you being a top performer.
Well, it also relates a lot with what we were talking about trusting your tools, not the tools, not talking about the tools that you have here, like the outdoor power dialer or this and that, or your mails, but trust your personal tools, like your ability of communicating something to people, of listening to people, evaluating situations, and letting your team know as well, this is not working. Like, I know you guys are the managers and you are in charge of everything, but always as well, not being afraid of letting your team know when maybe the tools that they are providing you or something that they give you is not working. Like, having those personal tools of communication, those are the ones that makes the win. Like, your tools make the win, not the results. And eventually you'll get your wins from that. But I learned in predictable revenue to trust your tools and to act based on that, and not feeling discouraged because of the results, but always feeling encouraged about that you're doing the right thing, and always making sure at the right time, that it's really crucial here as well. So that's what I learned, to trust my tools.
If there's an entrepreneur or a salesperson or SDR listening and they're going through a slump or they're struggling with sales right now, what would you tell them?
Exactly that, to trust their tools. And also that, making like a parenthesis here, let's say, that as long as they are like failing, they're always learning. So not feel discouraged about things not going in the way that you would like or the way that you expect. Because every time that you're not getting things in the way that you would like, or to getting your way, you're learning new ways. So there's always a reason to feel good about what you do, as long as you're making it intentional, of course.
I love it. Edgar, I really appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you so much for joining us today.
No, I really enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed it a little bit more than I expected, which was already like a high stake for me. So it was great.
It's got to be a bit nerve-wracking coming on the podcast, and having to sit down with your asshole of a boss.
Yeah. No, but in this case...
You said, yeah. No. Just going on your record.
No, I mean, in the hypothetical situation with you have a horrible boss.
I've got you on camera saying, yeah. Right on, man. Thank you again. And thanks to everybody for listening. We'll catch y'all next week.